All right, guys. So for you to be able to choose the gender of your child, there are just two things you need to know. Just two things that you need to understand. The first thing is ovulation. So the very first thing you need to know for you to be able to choose the gender of your child is ovulation. Then the second thing is sex chromosomes. You must understand what sex chromosomes are, and you need to know the different types of sex chromosomes for you to be able to have influence on the gender of your child. And this process needs to take place before sexual intercourse. Before sexual intercourse. So these are the basic things you need to understand. So my name is Oba Mike, and I teach human anatomy and physiology to both nursing and midwifery students in two different nursing colleges. So let's go straight to the first one, ovulation. So what is ovulation? Ovulation is when a woman releases a mature egg from the ovary into the fallopian tube. So without ovulation, a woman cannot get pregnant. So a woman will need to release an egg from her ovary into her fallopian tube, because it is in the fallopian tube that the sperm cells will meet that egg. The sperm cells are not really free to move to the ovary. The ovary is where the egg cells are being produced. It is a factory of the egg cells. So you have a lot of immature eggs in the ovary. So when one of those eggs get matured, they'll be sent to the fallopian tube. They'll be released into the fallopian tube. And that is where fertilization takes place in the fallopian tube. That is where the sperm cells will meet the egg, and then fertilization will take place. So the woman will need to ovulate. So for you to be able to choose the gender of your child, you need to understand ovulation. You need to know the day, the very day you are going to ovulate as a woman. You need to know the very, very day you will ovulate. So is it on the 20th of the month? Is it on the 25th? Is it on the 1st? Is it on the 16th? Nobody knows. It is only you. So you need to know the very day you will ovulate if you want to choose the gender of your child. Now, if you don't know much about ovulation, if you don't know how to calculate your ovulation day, I am going to make a video on that, on how to calculate your ovulation. So, but before that, you can actually search for videos on YouTube on that topic. There are tons of videos on how you can know your ovulation day. So, I'm going to make a video on that later. And make sure you subscribe to this channel so that you will not miss that video. Okay, so after understanding your ovulation, the next thing you need to understand is sex chromosomes. You need to understand sex chromosomes. And sex chromosomes are chemical structures in your sperm cells if you are a man, or your egg cells if you are a woman, that contains the genes that makes your baby a boy or a girl. So once again, sex chromosomes are chemical structures in your sperm cells or your egg cells that makes your baby a boy or a girl. So there are two types of sex chromosomes. We have the X chromosome and the Y chromosome. Okay, let me just wipe everything out. All right. Okay, so there are two types of sex chromosomes. We have the X chromosome and the Y chromosome. So the X chromosome is the female. So this is the female chromosome. It contains the genes that makes your baby a girl. While the Y chromosome is the male chromosome. And it contains the genes that makes your baby a boy. So the thing is, men have both the X and the Y chromosomes, while women have only the X chromosomes. So the sex chromosomes in a man, the sex chromosomes in a man are represented with XY. So they have both the X and the Y chromosomes. While the sex chromosomes in a woman are presented as XX, because women have only the X chromosomes. So a woman has only the X chromosomes, while a man has both the X and the Y chromosomes. What it simply means is that every man has two types of sperm cells. The sperm cell carrying the X chromosome and the sperm cell carrying the Y chromosome. While all the X cells in a woman carries the X chromosome. So during sexual intercourse, a man releases millions of sperm cells into the woman. Now, among these millions of sperm cells, you have the ones that carries the X chromosomes and you have the ones that carries the Y chromosomes. So both types of sperm cells are included in these millions of sperm cells that the man releases to the woman. So these sperm cells will travel all the way up to the woman's fallopian tube. By the time they get there, if there's an egg in the fallopian tube, one of these sperm cells will fertilize that egg to form a new human known as zygote. So if the sperm cell with the X chromosome fertilizes the egg, the results will be X eggs, another X eggs, which will give rise to baby girl. Meanwhile, if the sperm cell with the Y chromosome fertilizes the egg, the result will be XY. The result will be XY, which will give rise to a baby boy. So it is a man's sperm cells that makes the difference. It's a man's chromosome that determines the sex of the child, that determines the gender of the child. But as a woman, you have the power, you have the ability to choose the sperm cells you want to fertilize your egg. So if you want the sperm cells that contains the X chromosomes to fertilize your egg, you can do that. If you want the sperm cells that contain the Y chromosome to fertilize your egg to give you a male child, you can do that. So it is the woman that has the power to choose the sperm cells she wants to fertilize her egg. And for you to be able to do that as a woman, you must understand the differences between the sperm cells carrying the X chromosome and the sperm cells carrying the Y chromosome. So there are three major differences I'm going to state right here. So this is for the sperm cell carrying the X chromosome, and then this is for the sperm cell carrying the Y chromosome. So you must understand the differences. So according to an American gynecologist, Dr. Landrum Shettles, in the 1960s, he said he studied this process, he studied these two types of sperm cells and discovered that the X chromosome itself is bigger. The X chromosome is bigger and larger, is bigger and heavier than the Y chromosome. The X chromosome is bigger and heavier than the Y chromosome. So the Y chromosome is smaller and lighter. The Y chromosome is smaller and lighter. So because the X chromosome is bigger, is heavier, it swims slowly. It's not very fast, so it's slower. So the X chromosome is slower. It does not swim very fast, while the Y chromosome is faster. So the sperm cells containing the X chromosomes are slower, while the sperm cells containing the Y chromosomes are faster. Then he also discovered that the sperm cells containing the X chromosome last longer. So they can last for about 3 to 5 days in the woman's fallopian tube. So if you had sex like 3, 4, or 5 days ago, you are still with the man's sperm cells. You are still carrying the man's sperm cells around. And the sperm cells carrying the Y chromosome do not really last long in the fallopian tube. They last for just about 1 to 2 days and rarely 3 days. So these are the three major differences between the sperm cells carrying the X chromosome and the sperm cells carrying the Y chromosome. So my dear viewer, with this knowledge, you are good to go. So if you want a baby girl, if you want a female child, you should have sex 3 to 5 days before your ovulation. Remember, I said you must know your ovulation day. You must know the exact day you are going to ovulate. So if you want a female child, you should have sex 3 to 5 days before your ovulation day. Now, when this happens, the man will release millions of sperm cells into you. The man will release both types of sperm cells into you, the ones that carries the X chromosome and the ones that carries the Y chromosome. But after 3 to 5 days, the only sperm cells that will be surviving will be the sperm cells carrying the X chromosome, because the sperm cells carrying the Y chromosomes only last for 1 to 2 days in the fallopian tube. So by then, the man releases both types of sperm cells into you and they travel to the fallopian tube. After 3 to 5 days, these ones will be dead. These sperm cells will not be dead again. So by the time you ovulate, the egg will be meeting the sperm cells containing the X chromosome. And then one of those sperm cells will now fertilize the egg to give you XX, which is a baby girl. So if you want a baby girl, you should have sex 3 to 5 days before your ovulation day. Then if you want a baby boy, you should have sex during your ovulation, while you're ovulating on your ovulation day, or maximum of 24 hours after ovulation. So when this happens, the man will release both types of sperm cells into you. But the sperm cells containing the Y chromosomes are faster. So they are going to get to the fallopian tube before the sperm cells contain the S chromosome. So since you are having sex after your ovulation or during your ovulation, it means the egg will be there waiting. So the sperm cells that get there faster, which is most likely going to be the ones with the Y chromosome, will fertilize the egg. So at the end of the day, you're going to have XY, which will give rise to a baby boy. So, in summary, if you want a female child using this knowledge, you should have sex 3 to 5 days before ovulation. So, female child is before ovulation. Then, if you want a male child, you should have sex during ovulation or a day after ovulation. So that's a summary of the natural method of gender selection. If you've learned something from this video, please give me a thumbs up by clicking on the like icon on your screen. And now, finally, what I've learned from this process is that, first of all, the man's chromosomes are the ones that fertilize, that determines the gender of the child. But the person with the influence, the greater influence, is the woman. We had a misconception in secondary school then, like most of us did not really understand it, because what I was told then is that if the man releases the X sperm cell, the child will become a baby girl. If the man releases the Y sperm cell, the child will become a baby boy. But the fact is, in every ejaculation, the man will always release both types of sperm cells. So it is left for the woman to make her environment conducive for any of those sperm cells. So if she wants the sperm cell with the X chromosome to fertilize her egg, then she needs to have sex 3 to 5 days before her ovulation. And if she wants the sperm cell with the Y chromosome to fertilize her egg, then she needs to have sex during her ovulation or 24 hours, maximum of 24 hours after ovulation. Because the man will always give you both types of sperm cells. And then the second thing I've learned is that this is a natural method of gender selection. It is not very guaranteed. So the most guaranteed method of gender selection is in vitro fertilization. So where the fertilization will take place outside in the test tube in the laboratory. So during in vitro fertilization, the fertility experts can manually select your desired sperm cell. So if you want a boy, if you want a baby boy, they can select the sperm cell containing the Y chromosome to fertilize your egg. And if you want a baby girl, they can pick the sperm cell containing the X chromosome to fertilize your egg. So the most guaranteed method of gender selection is in vitro fertilization. So this method is not very guaranteed, but it has helped some persons. And then finally, I always advise that you accept any child that comes your way. And if you don't have any special case, there's no need of going through all these processes. So anybody can be anything these days. So a man can be a doctor, a woman can be a doctor. So anybody can be anything these days. So you should accept any child that comes your way. So thank you so much for watching this video to the end. If you, like I said, if you learned anything, please give me a thumbs up by clicking on the like icon on your screen. And if these are the kind of content you like to watch, I'm going to make a video on ovulation very soon. Make sure you subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell so that you don't miss that video. Thank you so much and see you in my next video.